It's the Well, here we are again. Good morning, everybody. How is your weekend going? Well, apparently Oh no, I thought the YouTube preview was not working there. Apparently it is. I hope everyone is well this morning. We are back with the long dark. After a hiatus of a whole day. Sorry, it's the weekend. I reserve the right to not do anything over the weekend. Even though that's not quite what ended up happening. Where was I? Repairing stuff, I think. And hunting deer and that sort of thing. Can't remember what the weather was like. Can't even remember what time of day it was, come to that. Oh, it does look weird in here without all my stuff cluttering the floor. Now I can't find anything. Well, as long as I got my water in the right place, I guess I'm okay. And I do have 3 litres of water. Yay! Please let there be deer on the hill. There aren't. Okay. And it's chilly outside. What are my... Oh, I've got 3 matches. I think I've got some more. One thing's for sure, I'm going to have to move on sooner or later, if only because I'm running out of matches. I could conceivably survive with just the magnifying glass though. Did I remember to put my other matches in here? I did. Yeah, that should keep me going just a wee bit longer. Come on, scroll. Thank you. And yes, I engaged in gratuitous clickbait. The long dark. Top 10 geek moments. Yeah, not necessarily in the long dark, it has to be said. Maybe that should have said, top 10 geek moments, the last one will surprise you. I suppose that would be kind of amusing. What I need is a nice short-range deer. Preferably at a time when it isn't going to freeze me to death. Do I have stuff in case I need it? Oh, why am I carrying that much? Well, let us see if I can... Every time I hear crows, I find myself wondering, is there a wolf I've missed or a deer I've missed? Unfortunately, the answer to that half the time is yes, I probably did. At least in principle, I was going to say, I missed yesterday. Shouldn't have to worry about the deer or the wolves in this direction. I don't want to have to go on another wolf hunt, so the basic plan, apart from trying to come up with 10 geek moments from my life, some of which make absolutely no sense. And I won't start on those until... Aha! I was going to say, I won't start on my top 10 geek moments until at least Anna is in chat. Anna is in chat. Hello, Anna. How are you today? And at least chat appears to be working today. Yay! So, which direction do I want to head for deer? Let us go this way. So, what would be my first geek moment? I'm not sure if it qualifies as a geek moment per se. It's one I've referenced before, but that would be... Oh, yeah. Didn't get as much rest as I really wanted. I ended up spending yesterday recording Hansel and Gretel, and then did a nearly 3-hour live stream in the evening for Sky. It has to be said, Sky's a heck of a lot easier to live stream than The Long Dark. So, first geek moment has to be, and I've mentioned this one before, and I consider it a geek moment because I still remember it. Watching the moon landing in 1969. I was 3. I still remember it. I think that qualifies. I still talk about it. There are 2 variations about how I came about watching it. The first of those is that the one that I remember, which is where I snuck downstairs and was found hiding behind the banisters, and then my parents let me watch the TV. My mother's version of the story is that they deliberately kept me up so that I could watch it. Either is possible. I wouldn't trust a 56-year-old memory. Ah, there's a deer. So that would have to be my first geek moment. This was obviously, height of the Cold War and all the rest of it, but I do remember, there was hope. This was the beginning of man's exploration of space. Moon first, then Mars, which of course never happened, unfortunately. What would be my second geek moment? Oh grief. Watching Star Wars, I suppose. 1977. Back when it was Star Wars and not Star Wars Part 4. This time we really mean it. Right, so what I gotta do now is ambush one of these, get it to charge at me. But apparently I was the first person in school to watch Star Wars. I think we actually watched it. My parents took me out of school early, as I recall, to go see it. Which is kind of strange because I never really became a Star Wars fanboy, or even a Star Trek fanboy, but watching Star Wars when it came out, yeah, that was quite a moment. Probably didn't appreciate it as much at the time as I do now. Yeah, back when we didn't know there would be a sequel. That actually leads inevitably on to another movie. This one was funny. It wasn't actually the fact that I went to see the movie. This is the first and second Matrix sequels. I was working in Tucson, Arizona at the time, and software engineers, as you might realize, are basically mostly a bunch of geeks. Strangely, not all of them are, but a lot of them are. And the whole software department took the afternoon off from work, including our manager, to go and see the first Matrix sequel. Management was not happy. But what's amusing is that didn't stop us. The second Matrix sequel, we did exactly the same thing. It's worth noting, we didn't do this for The Lord of the Rings. We didn't do this for any Star Wars movie. We just did it for The Matrix. Our manager, I'm not quite sure who arranged it, but our manager certainly approved it and then defended us against the upper management, who were not happy. But it has to be said, we were on salary. Technically, we were perfectly within our rights to come in, check our email and go home if there was nothing else that needed our attention. And while that almost never happened, that was something I did a time or two for various reasons. And yeah, there was nothing going on. We had other things to do, so that was something I took advantage of, maybe twice that I remember. So that would be the third geek moment, I suppose. Trying to pick out a fourth. It's not that there aren't any geek moments, it's just like, which one do I do next? Oh, there is a wolf over there, respawned. Don't tell me that wasn't a good shot. Fourth geek moment. Taking a shot at a running deer in the long dark. No, just kidding. That one doesn't quite count. Even though that was surprisingly impressive. Where was I up to? 3? Okay, 4. Watching the first space shuttle launch live. When was that? I can't remember what year that was, to be honest, but that was quite something. I would have been 10, 11, something like that. Again, like the first man landing on the moon, this was a sort of moment of hope. Oh, good, we're getting back into space properly. We've got reusable spacecraft, this sort of thing. And while one should never ignore the significance of the first space shuttle launch. I mean, who knew? It might have blown up on takeoff or something dramatic, but you didn't. It just never quite led to, in my mind, it never really led to what some of us kind of would have liked to see. I know I was only very young and all the rest. Did I lose? Did I lose the blood trail already? This will be irritating if I did. I know I was going the right way. Drat. Okay, I know I followed a blood trail this far, so I am going to simply try and follow the footprints. One of my regrets, I suppose, is that future generations won't have quite that same experience that we did. I mean, unless we do something dramatic like go to the moon. Not go to the moon, go to Mars in my lifetime. It's kind of something that my son might not get to see, which would be a shame. That's not the one I shot, is it? Drat. Well, it might be. No, I don't think it is. Oh. My experience of following the blood trail is that it doesn't always persist, and so now I've lost it. How many geek moments is that I've done so far? 4? 5? I suppose one that definitely should count is the first computer I used. That was a Commodore PET back in 1982. That's what got me started with computers. And even at the time, it was moderately powerful little system. Had a whole 32 kilobytes of RAM. 32K. When you bear in mind the computer I'm running this on has 32 megabytes, which is something like 1,000,000 times as much. It's remarkable how things have moved on, but we back then regarded 32K as something and a half. My goodness, that was an impressive computer. And that was the computer I learned to program on. Of course, the very first thing we tried to do was play video games on it. I was 16. and honestly a bit late in the game. But that was the first opportunity I had. It was actually my father's computer, but I got it as well. Well, not I got it. I learned. That's where I started to learn computers. Commodore PET 32K, 40 by 25, monochrome, green on black display. I'm so sorry, Miss Dear.
Something's gotta go.
But actually, one achievement I achieved at the time on that Commodore PET also qualifies as, I think, a significant geek moment. And that was, I wrote a video game on it. And I wrote it in assembly language. With a very simple assembler. Now, as if that wasn't enough, I managed to stuff the whole game into the 256 byte second cassette buffer of that Commodore PET. Because the Commodore PET that we had used cassette tapes as its method of storage. And we had one cassette drive, but nobody ever used the second cassette plug-in, which meant there was this little patch of RAM, 256 bytes, which wasn't used for anything. And so it was quite common practice to stuff utilities into that 256 bytes. And I stuffed a game, a simple obstacle game, into it. And it ran, honestly, so fast that I had to stick a huge delay loop in there. Right, I need to head along the river towards that. To slow it down to the extent that it was playable. Hope I'm going the right way. I actually, possibly, got a job on the strength of that story. I think it was one of those, what things are you proud of type of interviews, and I happened to mention that, and the interviewer was old school, so he knew about that kind of thing. And so he liked that geek aspect of me, I think. And so I got the job. I think there may have been more to it than that, but am I heading the right way? Hey Anna, am I heading the right way? I don't have enough charcoal to find out. I think I am at either that bridge or that one. If I'm at this one, I'm in trouble. If I'm at that one, I should be good. Yep, I'm at that one. I think I'm at that one. Is this a lake? Yep, looks like it. But trust me, only a geek would come up with that story. It was actually within the yeah, I think I'm going the right way. I'm at the lake, so yeah, I just need to keep to the left, to the right I should say, and follow it around. Can't remember whether that was the 5th or 6th geek moment. It was, yeah, I was very proud of that. I could actually just limit geek moments to favourite parts of video games. Alright, let's have a video game geek moment. Final Fantasy VII. Anybody care to hazard a guess as to what my geek moment for Final Fantasy VII is? The death of Aerys Gainsborough. That was arguably one of the defining tragic moments in video gaming, I think. That was heartbreaking, and I don't believe I had any idea it was coming. The funny thing is, I don't remember the circumstances so much. I just remember it happening. I mean, that was, over 30 years ago? Yeah, good grief. Nearly 30 years ago. Final Fantasy VII actually has had some influence on my life. I mean, as a gaming moment, the death of Aerys was certainly something and a half. Alright, here's another geek moment. One of my favourite movies, for some reason, is Final Fantasy Advent Children, which is sort of a continuation of Final Fantasy VII some years afterwards. I love that movie / anime. Don't know why, I do, just love it. Well, there is a moment in there when Tifa is battling... I can't remember his name. I think it might be Rude, but I'm not positive. Anyway, during a pause in the battle, I think it's Rude, although they might pronounce it Rude, is his phone goes off, and it's the Final Fantasy VII battle anthem. And so when I was given a smartphone, guess what I'd made my my dial tone? That's right. The Final Fantasy VII Battle Anthem. If that's not geeky, I don't know what is. I just thought it was cool, and there I am, a 40, 50-year-old man, thinking, oh, that's a good ringtone, and then when I got the opportunity, first thing I did with the phone, find that battle anthem online somewhere, download it, and stick it as my ringtone. Now here's a really obscure geek moment, and it is obscure, but it's one I remember. And I went to, when I was living in Tucson, Arizona, I went to the movies once, as you do. And the movie I went to see was Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. It's actually a pretty good movie. It had, the English-speaking cast was halfway decent. The plot was, I don't know whether you'd call it very Final Fantasy, but it was okay. It wasn't bad. I actually quite enjoyed it, but that's not the geek thing about it. Does anybody want to know what the connection is between Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, and Tucson, Arizona? Anybody? I'll give you a few minutes just to see. Well, during the movie, I can't remember the names of the characters, to be honest. And I can't remember what point in the movie. Anyway, they fly in to the Tucson wasteland. So far, so good. Heck of a coincidence. I'm living in Tucson. I'm watching Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, and they fly into the Tucson wasteland. Well, now here's the thing. As far as I can tell, the flight path of the aircraft they were in would have taken them right over the cinema I was watching it in. Because it was somewhat recognizable. The area that they were flying to was to the west of Tucson. And they flew over I think it was the Santa Catalinas. My geography of Tucson's a bit rusty now. And I swear that aircraft would have been, if it had been real life and I'd been outside looking up, I'd have seen that aircraft fly by. Now, this gets even weirder, stranger, more coincidental. Because I actually have a connection with Terminator 2 and Godzilla 2000. I think it's Godzilla 2000. Yeah, I think it's Godzilla 2000. I saw Godzilla 2000 in the movie theatre, by the way. I loved that movie. Yes, I like Godzilla. Well, my connection to Terminator 2. You remember the scene in Terminator 2 where they blow up the building where what's his name? Dyson was developing essentially what became Skynet. Right, that building was the head office of the company of one of the companies I worked for, and I can't remember which one. Which company was it? It wasn't KLA-Tencor. Actually, was it KLA? Might have been. I just remember that, that was the head office of the company, one of the companies I worked for. And it might actually have been KLA-Tencor. But there's an even more obvious association with KLA-Tencor in Godzilla 2000. I think I'm remembering this correctly, because if you watch the movie closely, one of the buildings that Godzilla destroys is the KLA-Tencor office in Japan. So, I don't know if you get much more geeky than that. Having an actual connection to, a Godzilla movie and Terminator 2. I had nothing to do with it. I just happened to work for the company. I did try to look to see whether any of the other buildings of people I used to work for was blown up, but I can't remember. But I think it was actually, the KLA head office in Terminator 2 and KLA Japan in Godzilla 2000. Right, that was successful. I just hope that was the same deer that I shot, but I don't think it was. Might as well go to sleep. Or do I want to go outside and see if I can't lure the wolf in? How many geek moments am I up to now? I have no idea. Oh, not again! Oh, I've got enough. Alright, I can actually make some tea. I thought the fish would have... No, the fish just make not getting scurvy easier, don't they? I am now going to have to be forced to go somewhere where I won't get... where I won't get scurvy. Alright. Okay, now this is a geek moment I guarantee you very, very few people have. And... I have worked on systems, wafer shape and flatness systems. They're part of the wafer QA. Yeah, they're part of wafer manufacturing quality assurance. Silicon wafers then go to be scurvy. So I worked on a system. In fact, I was the systems integrator for the wafer shape and flatness system that went on to get 95% market share. So those systems are almost certainly, most of them, still running. However, add to that I also worked on wafer cleaning systems. Now, wafer cleaning is actually a very important part of the manufacturing process. Yeah. So that means there's a very good chance the computer that I'm working on, the computer that you're watching me on or listening to me on, has been through one of my systems. Let's put it this way. Intel was a big customer. Probably still are, but it's not something that I've actually checked up on lately, and I don't care anymore because that was some time ago. Can't remember how many more geek moments I've got to come up with. Oh, I need to light a fire for this, don't I? No, let's go outside and do it. Use the magnifying glass rather than my precious matches. Can't think of any other geek moments. My brain sort of stalled on me. I mean, it's actually not that I can't think of any, it's just that, are they relevant? Are they geeky enough? Who knows? Right, well that should sort that out. Well, there's our friendly local wolf. You did vote vitamin C, didn't you? Yeah, I'm not going to be stinky enough for that purpose. Let's go and tempt him. Oh, I've got to cook the venison, haven't I? Here, Wolfie, Wolfie, Wolfie. Oh. Where'd he go? Well, that's ill-considered. Oh well, I need to go cook the venison anyway. Well, at least I've got a fire in the open and it didn't cost me a match to use, so let's go grab some firewood and get to cooking.
Might have to drop some gear.
Actually, I know what I can do. This is a better idea. Ew, where'd that blasted mouse go? Here we go. Oh, drat. That's not what I wanted to do. Well, I guess if I need a regular supply of fish, I suppose the coastal highway has now become quite desirous a location. Seems to go when I've got so much food here. Let's go grab the rest of the meat. There's got to be a better way of taking food with you without... no, not really. That's not necessarily true, is it? Because the reality is you would still smell of food, so... alright.
I'm not sure I can carry much more.
Well, there wasn't exactly a heck of a lot on that. On that deer, was there? Oh no, that's right, there was only about... how much was it? Not much. Well, that was more efficient than I expected. Let's see if our friendly local wolf is open to being shot at. Seems a little unfair to take advantage of him in this fashion. Oh, there it is. I think the wind's coming in the wrong direction though. Let's see whether we can persuade him to pay a visit. Oh, this is going to get my clothes damp. Yeah, but that's why I need the deerskin, and that's why I need the deerskin. What say we just do live and let live? See if I can find some rose hips. And yes, I do. I know. I need fish. Unless I can find a nice... spot, sheltered spot to fish from, but doesn't seem too likely in this weather, so I'll settle for rose hips. Huh. Why do I get the feeling this would be akin to my famous "let's go wandering in a blizzard" moments? Okay, this I was actually quite proud of. I'm not sure if it's a geek moment, but it's definitely in a geeky field. So, basic context. I was a systems engineer, which basically meant I was expected to be the sort of guru of all knowledge for the various systems that we work on. Yeah, I don't really have a method of unless I go back up into the fishing hut. I'm not going. That's not going to be too successful. So, yeah, I'm going to call this a geek moment. So I was working on this system. Well, no, that's not quite what happened. One of our field service engineers was at a customer's in Japan. And they had this strange recurrent problem. And as the systems engineer for just about everything, it fell to me to try and diagnose the problem. And I worked on that because I had the same breadboard system set up that he did, so I could run the same software, I could run the same firmware, I could run the same hardware, and so I should be able to duplicate the problem, right? Sounds reasonable. Couldn't duplicate the problem. There seemed to be no particular... I just couldn't get the problem to happen at all. So, I got him to put a sniffer on the serial port. And I did the same on mine, so we could compare the data that was being sent to and from between the hardware, basically. This was back in the day when serial ports were still being used by industrial equipment. We had USB ports, but serial ports were still the interface of choice. Don't want to irritate the moose if I can avoid it. So, I got the serial port information from my colleague in Japan. Yay, you might think. And I did exactly the same operations that it was doing and compared the two outputs. And there was a difference, which was weird. Furthermore, the difference didn't make any sense. I concluded, therefore, we were looking at corrupted data. I think it was literally 1 byte difference. And it was like it stood out. Everything else was fine. The commands being sent were exactly the same. The reply to those commands were exactly the same. Everything exactly the same was exactly the same except for this 1 byte of data. Don't worry about it too much. And I looked at this and I thought, it's got to be the serial cable. It's got to be the serial cable. That was my conclusion. And so I suggested to this field service engineer in Japan that he change the serial cable. And the customer didn't want to. Now, this is not as daft as you might think. Taking a system down, even briefly, to change out a cable costs some serious money. And they did not want to incur that cost, not unless we could guarantee that this would fix the problem. Now, in that business, you cannot guarantee anything. There's no such thing as 100% guarantee at all. And I'm not sure that the field service engineer would have gone to them and said, yes, we can guarantee this is going to work. They were happier with this occasional problem than risking taking the system down when it might not actually cure the problem. Actually, there was more burdock root back this way, wasn't there? And so I can't remember the precise details, because I suggested to him, look, can you, next time this goes wrong, can you, look, go to Shinjuku or just get a new serial cable and swap it out. And he said, I don't think they'll let me do that. And he didn't want to do the sneaky thing around the customers, which I can understand, although personally speaking, I probably would have just quietly switched out the cable. Because if it didn't make things any worse, well, what, you could just wait for the next time this particular problem occurred, switch out the cable, no time lost, put in a new one. No. So here's the thing. I was told by upper management to continue working on the problem. For 2 weeks, I essentially pretended to work on the problem. Now, that's not to say I did nothing in that time. And yes, as I recall, I did try other bits and pieces and things and to try and duplicate this, but essentially I wasted 2 weeks of time trying to duplicate a problem I was pretty certain I knew the solution to. And pretty certain is not good enough, but I was pretty certain. In the end, after those 2 weeks, and we're still saying we're pretty sure it's the serial cable, the customer in Japan allowed the field service engineer, who had been there basically sitting on his thumbs for 2 weeks. Yeah. And they allowed him to change the cable. And the problem went away. That's not quite the end of the story. I asked the field service engineer, please, when you come back to the United States, could you bring that serial cable with you so I can confirm that it was the problem? So when he got back, he had the serial cable with him. And I can't remember if he was watching me when I did this. But I hooked up my test system. You're kidding me. I found the other one. Come on. Found the other deer. So I hooked up this test system and immediately duplicated the problem. And I mean immediately. Duplicated the problem. Bingo. Done. That was a moment of which I was, it has to be said, extremely proud. Yeah. So, I mean, that was a long, drawn out, and let's face it, relatively minor geek moment, but I was very proud of that, and I've been telling that story for nearly 20 years. So, yeah, that's a geek moment. I mean, the funny thing was, management, where I was, certainly helped by my immediate manager, with whom I got on extremely well. He trusted me, I trusted him, arguably one of the three best managers in my so-called career. He supported me in this, and everybody basically knew that I was twiddling my thumbs for 2 weeks so that, for political purposes, so that they could put hand on heart and tell the customer in Japan, yes, we're working on the problem. That was a very quite, yeah. Faulty serial cable. Yep. That's 3 deer in 2 days. I must be getting better. And I got my arrow back. Poor dear. Can't remember how many geek moments that is now. Well, I've got one general all-round geek moment. It's not a geek moment, it's a geek thing. When I was a student at university, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. There you go, you don't get much more geeky than that. Ooh, that kind of reminds me. When I get back from my break, which will occur as soon as I get back in out of the cold, I've got another one. Another 2, possibly. Ooh, are you going to do me a favour and come after me? I mean, I must be really attractive right now. No, okay. And as I intimated, I have to go and attend to a bladder situation. Ah, okay, that's the other one. Where did I put the guts for that? It doesn't matter. I have more guts than I know what to deal with. Okay, so I am going to... Yes, that does work, doesn't it? I am going to take care of biological related functions, and I will be back in typically 3 or 4 minutes. I will see you all fairly shortly, as long as I can remember how I'm supposed to do this. Hey, how about that? I'm back. I didn't have to alt tab. I do have to alt tab, unfortunately, to pause the game, but still. All right, here's another geek moment. Oh, hang on a second. I've now got to deal with a minor issue over there. Sorry about that. Right, I used to go to what became video game arcades with my grandfather. Now, you may not know this, but there were arcade games before the likes of Pac-Man. This was definitely before Pac-Man. So you would go to the arcades to play things like pinball, which I have maintained a sort of abiding love of, even though I'm no good at it, ever since. Yeah, transfer that over, might as well. But my memory is not actually... Oh, it's full. But there were two games I remember in particular that my brother and I used to enjoy. I don't know what they were called, and this was, as I said, pre-video game. They could be regarded as early video game types, and there were two of them that we used to enjoy trying to play. The first one was a helicopter gunship game. And you sat in this chair with a sort of semi-proper helicopter-style joystick in front of you with a trigger. And you'd be raised up, and below you there's this rotating model. And you would basically put this real gun sight onto targets in the model and squeeze the trigger. Now, there had to be some kind of computer involved because it would register whether you hit or not. There was no screen. It was purely analog. No, you didn't get to see a computer interface. I don't know how old I was. It would have been early 70s maybe, but it was definitely before the advent of even Space Invaders. So we used to play that game with considerable gusto. The second thing we used to play was a driving game. Now, this would look familiar to people, even now I suspect. But what we would do is, the way this game worked was you had an analog steering wheel, and it would play, presumably by videotape, but I don't know what it was. And the whole purpose of the game was essentially to keep the track that you were playing on, and this was a sort of a driving through town view, and it was, someone had obviously taken a car and videotaped this driving sequence, and your job was to basically steer so that you kept on the road. And my brother and I always used to speculate, was it possible to drive off the screen in a way that you could do now, but you certainly couldn't do back then. And what we didn't realize, and it was impossibly difficult, and it took us a while to figure out why, because it turns out, and I'm analysing in looking back with the knowledge that I have of the past, the steering wheel these days, if you did that kind of thing, The steering wheel would not auto-center. So you had no idea where the steering wheel was in reference to where you were supposed to be driving. And I remember now gotcha. Right, I'm not gonna. Well, I don't know. Let's see. He's heading off into the wild blue yonder. So, we could never figure out why we couldn't keep the virtual view, so to speak, in the center of the playback until I saw somebody else playing it, and they were, playing it quite well. They got to the end, and the last thing they did before they walked away from the game was spin the steering wheel. So now the center position was completely unknown. So I think that's geeky. Not only remembering the games, remembering how they played, but in the case of that driving game, now understanding. I kind of understood back then, but now I understand it even better. Understand why we could never get that game right. And this whole idea that we had in our heads as young boys, that it should be possible to drive off the assigned track. Of course, these days, that's very much a thing. Back then, we had the idea, and we had never seen a driving game up to that point. But that was the first driving game I played, was this video playback. Keep the steering wheel centered in the playback track. I still remember those arcades. They smelled of stale popcorn and sweat, I think. Well, I'm not sure about the sweat, but I do remember I think it was stale popcorn. And the noise. That's the noise of an arcade, an old style arcade, is quite evocative. Because I don't suppose, do video game machines exist anymore? Doesn't really seem to be much point, but well. But it's funny that the ideas that my brother and I had essentially wouldn't be realized for, oh grief, another 30 years. I mean, how funny is that? And I say 70s. Yeah, it would have been the 70s. I do know it was before the likes of Pac-Man and Space Invaders. So 72 maybe. I'd have been 6, maybe 7 or 8. Hello, what's that going plink at me? Something went plink. I'm not sure I like it when things go plink. I don't expect them. Yesterday while I was streaming, there was this, I could hear in my earbuds, this tune playing in the background. I thought it was actually in the game. Turns out it was my iPad behind me by a few meters. The alarm set off, and it's a musical alarm, and I thought it was the game. Anyway. Okay, I don't know how many geek moments I've got, but I've got one more, which I have talked about before. But we'll go with one more and say it's number 10. About the same time that I'm talking about there, I had been using computers for 4 years at that point. I was 4 years? 6 years. Oh, that's when I graduated. That's when I graduated university, was 88. Ooh, there's one for you. Okay, I got two. Alright. Around about the time that I was talking about going to the arcades with my grandfather, I got my hands on what I now know to be the very first copy of 2000 AD magazine, which featured Judge Dredd. The first Judge Dredd comic strip. I had it. It would be worth a small fortune now, but back then, all I knew, it was something that my mother wouldn't have approved of, and my grandmother allowed me to get it. My mother would have been horrified. So, yeah, that's a geek moment for you. And I only figured that out years later, when I was reading sort of the complete collected Judge Dredd, and I recognized the very first cartoon in that, and I was like, I had that. I remember this. I had that. Well, you seem like a good human being to me. So what was that other geek moment that I have now completely forgotten? Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It was 1988. So, 1988. Final exams. Final exams are over. And we're at university, and we've got nothing to do for, I can't remember how long it was, 2-3 weeks. And so those of us who had done our finals, the university had a microcomputer system, microcomputer network built around the old VAX 11780 and 750, and it had an online game. And so the first massively multiplayer online RPG I played was on a VAX, what they called a VAX cluster, which was sort of 4 microcomputers networked together, and you could basically play them anywhere use the systems anywhere on campus where you had a terminal. So you had players from a surprisingly far distance apart, because the campus was up and down the location in literally miles apart. You used to have to go from by train to go from one to the other, that kind of thing. So yeah, but that first massively multiplayer online RPG that I played, although the massively is a bit open to question, but you would have a whole bunch of users playing this game. It was an adventure game, very much like you might play now, except it was text based. We thought it was fantastic. A text based MMORPG MMORPG. That was my first taste of online gaming. Strangely, I mean, at the time, text-based adventures were a fairly normal sort of thing. In fact, text-based adventures were a staple of adventure gaming for... I'm trying to remember when the first graphical role-playing game came out. It was about that time, actually. And the graphics were slow to load, and it didn't really add to it. It was basically still a text-based adventure, and you would literally have to type in the commands. Go this direction, pick up that, turn this. The graphics didn't really help you. But nonetheless, they were hugely popular at the time because you essentially saw the game in your head. I think there are people that still play them. Oh. So, I think that qualifies as... I'm not sure whether you'd call them top 10 geek moments. How about just 10 geek moments? With apologies to anybody listening for the clickbait. And... Right, I need to get the wood... I need to get the meat cooked up now, don't I? Get the meat cooked. I need the deerskins to be fixed. If I can hunt down that dead wolf, that would be nice, although I have a suspicion that I won't be able to. See what the weather's like. Well, I can still pop out and see if I can't find a suspicious lump in the snow, and I need to watch out for that bear because he might be due. Ooh, is that him? Hang on a second, I'm gonna have to peer at the screen. I think that is a dead wolf. And with a bit of luck, the other one that's in this area is still dead. Because that was only a couple of days ago. Yep. Looks suspiciously like a dead wolf to me. Not the best conditions to be harvesting it, I will have to admit. Sorry, Mr. Wolf. Ooh, I'm gonna be cold and frozen when I'm done. Oh, not too bad. Oh, nearly gave myself a heart attack then. I saw a speck and thought, oh please no, don't tell me the other wolf reincarnated. You still there, Anna? Oh, that wasn't so bad. Ah, right. I can't tell because the system says only one person watching. And I'm never entirely sure how it counts. You do remember that on Twitch, I've been getting people trying to sell me goods and services? The animated this, that, and the other for whatever reason. Well, I had a more extensive experience with somebody else, which was interesting. And this came to me through Twitch as well. There's quite a private chat on my Discord about it. And had this fella trying to sell me publicity. In other words, so the idea is, I'm not quite sure how it works, but essentially the idea is they publicize either my Twitch channel or YouTube or both. Don't know how it works, but the wording was odd. I mean, first of all, he guaranteed organic subscribers, viewers, and commenters. And I must admit, now it has to be said, right from the start, I thought, well, this is weird. I don't think I've heard of this, but okay. I had, to be honest, no intention of following up because, well, one, I don't have the money, and two, my first instinct for these things is like, I'm not going to believe this. This is not real. Anyway, so this guy, said, like I say, I thought the wording was odd, but I can understand why, because you don't want fake subscribers. You want real ones and real viewers. But how, so part of my mind is going, well, how do you guarantee real human beings subscribing, or this sort of thing? I don't know. Now, I know that people have paid for fake followers and subscribers and views and this kind of thing. Don't know how it works. I can sort of imagine it. There's a click farm somewhere in, I don't know, China or something. So, but the whole idea is that I basically buy, what did he call them? Tokens? Publicity tokens or something like that. I forget the precise wording, and it took me a while to find out how much this was supposed to cost me. He didn't want to tell me. In the end, I got them to tell me. And he basically said, well, we need to start you off with 10 tokens at $49.50 each. It's like, okay, we'll call it $500. It's like, nope, I haven't got $500. It wouldn't matter. I got no intention of making use of this service. Oh, I know what I wanted to try. What can I do with that? don't know. But I was kind of curious. So I did a search online to see what this was about, and it led me to a website called famegrowers.com, and it basically offered the same kind of things. You pay for a service and they'll do something for you, and I forget all the details. And some of the pricing was the same. So it's like, okay. So I checked around a bit on Google and Bing, because, where else are you going to look, to find out about this, because the whole thing strikes me as being a con or not kosher, because I don't see, unless you're essentially paying for advertising, how you're going to get your channel out and how they can guarantee an increase in in everything. And the reviews of services like Fame Growers are sketchy, I think is best. It was not an overwhelmingly positive set of comments about it. There were a few that said, "Oh yes, this worked for me," but there were, I'd say maybe there was another website which evaluated it as a scam, and it basically said, well, we give it a reliability or trustworthiness rating of about 15%. Now, I did not review every single claim about using this kind of service, but some of the feedback is matching my instinct. My instinct is to say, I don't see how this works. I don't see how this can be guaranteed to work. And some of the comments about it were like, well, yes, I paid for this and I got 50 subscribers, and then YouTube removed them from me. And it's like, aha, that's interesting. But all my instincts are basically being confirmed. You've got the somewhat, there's this whole reluctance to tell me how much it costs. There's absolutely no indication of how it works. It's all vague. And this total stranger is, as far as I can tell, expecting me to give them, or hoping that I would give them $500, and I don't know who they are. I've got absolutely no information, just a username on my Discord. And so I basically said, look, I've looked at this, I've looked at, I've done a bit of research, and you're basically offering the same service as Fame Growers. And he kind of took offense that I had Googled it. Oh, where'd you find that? Google? And I replied, well, no, Bing. And I made the comment, you expect me to give you $500 and just trust you? Which I thought was a perfectly reasonable comment. Now, at this point, I would have expected something like, okay, here are my bona fides. Here's my website. Here's my organization. Here's this. Here's that. A business-like sort of presentation to say, at least I've got a professional environment to show to you. And at no point had I gotten anything like that. I never got a link. I never got anything beyond basically a dialogue which can be interpreted as, trust me, bro, I know what I'm doing, I won't let you down. Which, I don't know whether he knows I'm a 59-year-old man who's been involved in sales and marketing either directly or indirectly as part of my career for longer than this guy's probably been alive. But the last thing he sent me was a series of video clips of people extolling his virtues and basically saying, oh, this guy did well for me. But it's like, I'm not finding this convincing either, because for all I know, these are just your friends. I don't think any of them, any of the video clips, I don't think any of them actually said, here's my YouTube channel that he helped me with, here's my Twitch channel that he helped me with. Never got anything like that. I would have had to go and basically, I don't know, find each one and say, is this real, or were you paid to say this? So I've got nothing, essentially, to say, yeah, this is a genuine service. Never mind that I don't see how it can be, to be honest, short of actual advertising. I mean, genuine, proper advertising. And if that's what he was doing, then he should have said. So, yeah, that's something else to watch out for. What am I doing? Don't know, really. Mucking around. I don't think I can light a fire in this weather. Let's give it a try. Oops. I have got to find a way to better control the mouse on this, the mouse cursor. So, if you have a website and somebody tries to sell you services like that, I would strongly suggest that you don't pursue it. It strikes me as dodgy. I don't see how anybody can guarantee you views and what have you. And personally, I would rather have 100 genuine subscribers who have elected to subscribe to me, rather than 1,000 dodgy ones who may or may not be real people and who I can't necessarily confirm are real people. Yeah. Let's see if I can start a fire. Nope. Okay, I'll wait until the weather's cleared up. Sorry, I've spent half this day in game just talking, for which I apologize. But I wanted to share the story because I thought it was interesting. And if that gentleman ever finds this channel and listens to this, I'm sorry, mate. You missed out on a lot of opportunities by essentially, one, not really taking me seriously, and two, not really being professional about your delivery. I've seen far better sales. I've seen far better sales from some dodgy salesmen. You know, and he might very well say, look, I sent you some testimonials. Yes, you sent me testimonials. I don't know if they're real. Where's their YouTube channels? Where's their Twitch channels? How many followers have they got now? How much money are they making, if any? You know, come on, give me all the details so that I can put testimonial to person to actual channel. That would have made sense. I probably shouldn't say this kind of thing, because now I'm giving them hints on how to run a better con or better sales pitch. Just want the weather to clear up so that I can actually do some cooking. Do I have any... let's see, what do I need? I've got some of those. I need a few more. Let's go and see if we can find anything more. Does the burdock actually help you with vitamin C? Or is it just something you can eat? Well, the good news is I don't need to shoot any more deer, any more wolves, or any more bears for at least a short time. So once I've got everything fixed, then we can look at going to Coastal Highway. How about that? That won't be today, obviously, but yeah. Once I get everything sorted, head down to the Coastal Highway. And it doesn't help that I am running out of stuff here. Definitely could use some matches. Yeah, does it help? Well, I ate it raw, so cooking technically would denature vitamin C. Actually, potentially, it would denature some of it. So I know there was burdock root down here. We'll go grab some. Yeah, excuse me, I've got a coffee burp coming up. Oh, I'm so glad you didn't hear that. That would have been repulsive. Oh. Should do. It's a plant. I'll have to look that up. I'm sure you're far too ladylike for that. Now, where was that burdock root? I may as well grab it. Oh. Well, at least if it starts to blizzard, I can find my way out. Where was the burdock root? We'll grab some, see what happens. There was a whole swathe of them down here. The good thing, and bad thing, about scurvy is it doesn't just immediately jump on you in real life, but I don't remember, and I should know, how the Royal Navy figured out the scurvy problem. I don't remember how they figured that out. And this would have been in the late 18th century kind of thing. It couldn't have been... nobody knew about vitamin C then, of course. It must have been something like either trial and error, because they did have ideas about it. They thought soda water, I think, was one possible solution to it, for reasons which escape me, but made sense within the scientific knowledge of the time, I suppose. It couldn't have been empirical testing. It must have been sort of observational. But then, of course, they found out that lemon and limes were a good way to prevent it. I suppose... I suppose, actually, now that I think about it, they could have observed that ships that were receiving regular fresh supplies didn't have a scurvy problem. It was the ships that were out at sea for long periods of time that developed the scurvy problem, and from that I suppose you could conclude, oh well, maybe it's the fresh food. Then they'd have to figure out, well, which fresh food? Hello, Mikhail. Welcome to the Long Dark. Where I've been rambling on about all kinds of things. I am in case you missed it, Mikhail, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the process of getting ready to leave this region and make Anna and Bubba happy by heading for the coastal highway. And I'm going to guess and say I follow the river, but I'm not sure. Actually, that's a good point, Anna. How do I get to the coastal highway from here? My knowledge of the maps is not as extensive as yours. Oh, the other thing you missed during this stream, Mikhail, is 2 dead deer and 1 dead wolf, which I think is a record. Nah, I think I'd like to get to the coastal highway. It must get a bit boring for everybody thinking, oh my goodness, is Shards of Insanity still in Pleasant Valley? Is he still massacring the local wolf population? What is my total wolf kills at the moment? 20. 20. 20 wolves, 3 bears. How many deer? Where's my deer kills? 12. I've killed more wolves than I have deer. Grief. I'm positively a blight on the landscape. Okay. I'm guessing, hang on. I'm guessing this road, and I am going to guess that I have to go along here, because that seems to be the most obvious road. Go to Heartbreak Bridge and head west. Does that sound about right? Yeah, heading away from the town would make sense, because if I go the other way, I'm heading towards Mystery Lake. No, well, yes, Mystery Lake. The twisty river thingy. Not a good day for cooking, I guess. A great day for getting soaking wet, though. What's my... Yes, great day for getting soaking wet. Alright. That's a plan. Fix everything. Head out. No, I don't believe so. I don't have the DLC for that. Either that, or I'd never seen the option for turning the Cougar on. So, no. Pretty good bet that I do not have the ability to turn the Danger Kitty on. Oh! Well, that was nice of them. Huh. Geek moment of the day. Taking a running shot at a deer and eventually finding it. Actually, this is good timing because it is getting towards the end of the day. And what am I doing? I am... Oops. Well, I've got plenty of prepared burdock. I may cheat and look at the wiki to find out about vitamin C. I'm going to miss my food supply here. Oops. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I've been doing this for 117 minutes and I need to get some lunch. Ooh. And I'm trying to think, do I want to record another fairy tale today? I've done 2 in the last week. I told you I recorded the tale of Hansel and Gretel yesterday and uploaded that. So if you want another 20 minutes of fairly horrific storytelling, there's that to look forward to. Well, what am I supposed to do with it? I can't exactly organise it and put it away in a cupboard somewhere. So what will probably happen now is I will do nothing constructive until nightfall, put Mackenzie to bed, get him through the night. Oh, well, you could always let the kids listen to it. In fact, I don't know whether you've heard any of it at all, but after there's another wolf. How fast did they regenerate? I'm stealing from the BBC a little bit. There used to be this thing on the BBC called Listen with Mother. This is back, I think it started in the 50s, went on at least to the 70s, but I remember it. And they would tell stories and what have you. And the intro to that was, "Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin." And I've stolen that for part of the intro to reading fairy tales, Grimm's fairy tales. I actually had a thought today. If those turn out popular enough, I might spin off another YouTube channel of just me reading fairy tales. I mean, Grimm's fairy tales is 210 stories, one of which I probably can't use, at least one of which, because it is decidedly anti-Semitic and would not be popular these days. So, if I did one a day, I would take me, over half the year to complete the entire lot. If I do one a week, it'll take me nearly 4 years. And then, if I ever finished off them, there's Vietnamese folk stores, Chinese. I mean, I could just carry on for ages. A channel dedicated to just reading fairy tales. Do a weekly special, an hour and a half of me telling horror stories. Alright, have a good day, Anna. I hope the kids are no more trouble than usual. And have a good rest of the weekend. Yep, I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully getting ready to actually leave, if everything cures in time and I can get everything fixed, and then I can move on. Oh, that's good to know. I got water. I got food. Let's just get through the night. And then I will end the stream. Oh, it's too early. What have I got? Let's see. 76% cured. Okay, I should be able... Next time I might be able to fix my bearskin coat, which I'm not currently wearing. Definitely want to fix everything else that's made of deerskin. Ooh, I know what I'll try. Yeah. Let's try this. How come I've suddenly got a sprain? Oh, I get it. My condition dropped.
Damn it.
Oh, I should have used the cedar. Oh, this is infuriating. I've definitely got to find more matches now. Or at least hope that tomorrow is clear enough I can use the magnifying glass. What are you doing? Don't want to use the fur. I have never had so many failures to light a fire. Oh, well, that doesn't help. Was I? He's trying to use the magnifying glass indoors. Okay, maybe I didn't waste any matches.
That did it.
Cook. Yeah, prepared burdock. Let's see what that does for me. No, but it's warmed me up. Helped pass the time. So we'll do the usual. Get him through the night. And then I will sign off. And hope the weather in the morning is halfway decent. Okay, so as per usual, I will look outside, see what kind of weather we have. Not good, to be honest. Definitely could use better weather than that. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time.